Welcome back. This video, which hopefully will be short, is about how I made a board game. I don't mean I invented it, I mean I built it. And when I built it, I thought that my family had invented it. Because when I was a kid, almost every household in my extended family had a version of this board game. And one of my mom's sisters made the boards and the pegs and provided them, painted and everything. So I thought somebody in the family had invented this game. But as I was getting ready to make this video, I found out that there's plenty of versions of this game that exist. It's called Wahoo, but I learned how to play it as a kid. My grandma and grandpa played it, and when we would go to aunts and uncles or cousins' houses, they would have a version of it too, and you could play it. It doesn't take any skill. You just remember a few rules. You roll the dice. You get your pieces out of the starting square and go around the board, and you can knock off your opponent's pieces and send them back to the start, and then you try to get all your pegs back to the home square. Now, it turns out that the original version of Wahoo, which I found they still sell it, is played with marbles instead of pegs. And for all I know, the rules might be slightly different than the way we played it. When I first learned how to play as a kid, each person just used one die. But then later we added a second die, so everybody had two dice when they rolled, and you get out on a 6 or a 1, and then after that you move how many number of squares that you rolled and so on. I also didn't know that some of the versions of it had what many people might call a racist caricature of Native Americans on it. I certainly wouldn't put anything like that on a board that I built, but as I said, when I built it, I thought that my family had invented the game and I, wanted to play it with my kids. But here's how I did it. I started with a 2-foot by 2-foot square of the project squares that you can buy at your home center of plywood, and I had an old photo of a board that right after I met my wife and she saw the game at one of my, family members' houses, she held the game up, she held the board up so I could take a picture of it. And based on that photo alone, because I didn't have any other board to work with, I measured out the squares here where the holes were going to be that I would drill to put the pegs in. And here's a photo of after I've marked all the places that I'm going to have to drill a little hole. And what my mom's sister always used when she made the pegs was little wooden golf tees. So before I drilled the holes, I had to go out and buy some golf tees that would fit in the holes to make sure, that I was drilling the holes the right size. And to find the right size drill bit, I tested on a piece of 2x4, drill a small hole, see if the peg would fit, use the next drill bit up and drill a slightly larger hole, see if the peg would fit, and so on until I got, because you don't want it to be too loose of a fit where the peg just slides through and scratches the surface of whatever's under the game board. You want it to kind of fit in there, but you don't want it to be so tight that you can't pull it back out. So anyway, that took some time and some trial and error, but once I got it, I drilled a bunch of holes. It was something like 80 or 90 holes. And here's the board after all the holes were drilled, and I think I had put one coat of the clear coat polyurethane on there. And each time I put a coat of the polyurethane on there, some of it would seep into the holes and make them smaller than I had drilled them out to be. Fortunately, I had a little round cylindrical file set. Not a set. The set had all kinds of different files in it, but one of them was a cylindrical file that it turned out to be just about the right size for these holes. So I could put the tip of that little file in the hole and kind of, turn it back and forth to get out some of that clear coat after it had dried. And then when I put on the next coat, same thing. So not only did I have to drill 80 or 90 holes, but I had to, file them out several different times. And I did not call and ask my mom's sister how she used to paint the pegs because, she's getting up in years, and also I don't have her phone number. But what I did was I just drilled a bunch of holes in a piece of 2x4 and put the wooden golf pegs in those holes, and then I painted them and I left the tips unpainted because I figured that part of the paint would rub off anyway when you put the pegs in the holes on the board as you were playing the game. But anyway, here's after one of my first coats of paint on each of the pegs, and then after that dried, I went back through there and painted again. Now, I don't know how my mom's sister used to choose the colors. Several of the different game sets, had different colored pieces. Maybe it was just whatever paint she had on hand. But what I did to choose the colors was I just asked each member of my family what color they would prefer. My daughter wanted this aqua/turquoise color here in the foreground. My wife wanted the dark red. My son wanted gold, which didn't show up that well on the wooden golf pegs that were already kind of a, golden brown color, and I chose the purple there at the back. And this is basically what the game board looks like after it's finished. I used a painter's tape to mark off those squares and rectangles. And right now all the pegs are in their start squares, and of course then they're going to get out and move clockwise around the board until they get to their, the home stripe there. I just realized one set of dice is missing here. And here's just a little bit of mobile 3D footage of the game board after I was done. I thought it came out, not too bad, and we already had a set of dice at home for other games, and so we've had some fun playing this. And since already a couple of years ago I had made a chessboard out of the same size, same shape of piece of plywood, this can slide right up next to that and store with it. So I didn't need an extra storage spot, for this game. Unlike a regular game board, it doesn't fold up and go in a box. It has to, stand up on its end somewhere. But anyway, I hope that was of some interest to you. Yes, our family is one that occasionally plays board games, and since many of the members of my immediate family do not play chess, this is a game that we can play together, and as I said, there's not really any strategy involved. You just roll the dice and move that number of squares, so you don't have to think about it too hard, and it's a nice relaxing way to spend 10 or 15 minutes, however long it takes to play one of the games. Thank you for spending your time here, and I'll see you next time.